Hey guys, I am back with video number 2, and this one was actually inspired by the VO2 max test that I took a couple weeks ago. So if you haven't had a chance to check out the video blog that I did recounting my experience getting a VO2 max test, you can do that now so you know a little bit about what I'm talking about. But one thing that the trainer conducting the test said to me really stood out. He said, a lot of times people that are doing VO2 max or engaging in a really tough sport or just have a really tough event, their minds give out well before their bodies give out. So he was saying that a lot of times people that are doing the VO2 max, even though their legs are perfectly capable, their mind will give up after 4 or 5 minutes of pain. And they could actually go a lot longer, but because it's uncomfortable and because their mind is telling them that they can't do it, their legs follow suit and then they just give up. And so that inspired me to think through my own journey, which has been a long 6-year journey of becoming more of a fit person. I still have a ways to go, of course, but a lot of my challenges have been overcoming the voice in my head that's been telling me you can't do something, or you're not strong enough to do this, or this is out of your league right now. And fortunately, I have learned a lot of hacks, I'll call them, that have allowed me to overcome things that I never thought I could. So what I'm going to do in this video is share a few of those mental hacks that have helped me to overcome that voice in my head that tells me I can't do something. And what I hope you'll walk away from this video with is getting a few ideas that you can implement, whether you do Orangetheory, whether you're a CrossFitter, whether you're just starting at the gym and you're lifting weights, or you're a marathoner, or just starting out and signing up for your first race, or just trying to get yourself to the gym for the first time. My goal is that you can implement a few of these tips and that they'll be helpful to you. And I've actually written an entire blog post that recounts 15 of these hacks. I'm only going to go through a few of them on this video today, but if you're interested in the whole list of 15, it's a lengthy blog, but it's really full of really valuable information that I think is very practical. So I want this post to be something that you can implement, like I said. So I get very personal and talk about some things that have worked for me. So I hope you'll go check it out. I've linked that blog post on the bottom of this video. So head on over to Crazy Does It after you have watched this video and check out the rest of the tips. Tip number 1, when fatigue starts to set in, I want you to pick a number and count to that number as slowly as possible. And what's helped me is to maybe pick something that you can count instead of just kind of zoning out and counting to 20. Start by counting your strokes if you're in the pool, maybe your cadence if you're on the bike. If you're running, you can count your cadence, or you can count your breaths. But essentially, whatever the number is, whatever way that you're choosing to count to that number, by removing your mind from the task at hand, which is whatever sport or activity you're engaged in, you're actually disconnecting from the pain. And once you hit that number, so if I'm counting 20 breaths and I get to 20, which is my number, then and only then do I allow myself to reevaluate. And I think a lot of times you're going to be surprised by how much better you feel when you get to that number. And if you can, do it again. Do it again, do it again. And before you know it, your session or your segment or whatever it is that you're on is going to be over, and you're going to feel better and stronger for the next time that you do it. So tip number 2, I want you to try and accept challenges that will push you out of your comfort zone. So for me, back in the day, I used to hate failing. I still do, but I didn't really even give myself a chance to try new things because I was so afraid of failing or making a fool out of myself, or maybe not being able to keep up with my friends. But now I'm of the mindset that I'm only going to be able to grow from these experiences, or maybe determine that I really don't like a sport or an activity and I won't do it again. But the next time a friend asks you to take a cycle class or a bar class or join them for CrossFit or sign up for a 5K or even a walk, my advice is to try and do it. And the worst thing that could happen is you decide that you don't like it and you're not going to do it again. But chances are you're going to prove to yourself that you can do it. It may not be pretty, it may be really ugly, but no one is going to care except for you. So try and get out of this mindset that everything you sign up for, you have to do it perfectly, because that's probably never going to happen. Tip number 3. So this one may seem a little bit funny, but one of the things that's gotten me through some really hard workouts or some really long training runs or just long sessions. Last year I was training for a full Ironman, and I had days where I was training for 8 hours straight. And so I had to be thinking of something that wasn't the activity at hand. And so when the pain would start to set in and I was ready to give up or go home and call it a day, I had to have something in my mind that I would come back to. And for me, that was a mantra. So I would repeat things in my mind that was something like, I am strong, I am beautiful, I am capable, or maybe a Bible verse or something that really speaks to me and tells me that I am doing this. I'm not just thinking about it, I am actually doing this right now. So for everyone, it's different. You may have a mantra that you've always thought in your mind when you're doing hard things already, and that's great. But if you don't have one, I would encourage you, it's something even short that's like 3 things that you can say on the beat. That's helped me. I am strong, I am beautiful, I am capable, and just keep repeating that every single step that you take, every stroke that you make in the pool, every push on your bicycle pedal, whatever it is, repeat those things, and pretty soon you're going to start believing that. So tip number 4, every session that you do, you're not going to go out and try and set a PR. In fact, it's not realistic, and it's also not very smart. Your body needs time to recover, and only on those kind of low or off days are you going to be able to rebuild and repair the muscle that you've been damaging through really intense workouts. But that can be a little bit demoralizing if you go out for a long run or an Orangetheory class or CrossFit and you have an off day. And so my advice in these scenarios is you still have to maintain that mental strength. You don't want to give up, but I think it's important to have different goals for each session. So for instance, if I'm going to an Orangetheory class, which I'm leaving for one in about 30 minutes, I've had a really hard week. This will be my 4th class in 4 days, but still I've been doing a lot of training for the half Ironman as well. And so I guarantee it that I'm not going to be setting any PRs today. And so my goal for this class is to increase my base pace by 0.1 miles per hour and to maintain it for the entire class. So that may not seem like a lot, but after a couple weeks of doing that, or after a couple weeks of reaching these little mini goals, they really add up over time, and you'd be surprised if you push yourself in different ways every class. One day it may be, hey, this class I'm really going to focus on my breathing and we really want to nail my breathing technique. My pace not be perfect. I may not be pushing myself as hard as I want, but my breathing is going to be on point. Or maybe I'll focus on my posture one day and really run tall and focus on a midfoot strike instead of a heel strike, which is what I default to. So the point is, every single class, every session, whatever you're doing, have a goal and have that goal be attainable so that you don't leave whatever it is you're doing deflated. The point is that you always want to leave mentally strong and feeling good about the workout that you just did. So tip number 5, last tip I'm going to go over in this video today, is about preparing for the unexpected. And I know this is a topic we don't really like to think about. We want every day to be perfectly sunny and 70 degrees. We want every class to go perfectly well, but in reality that just never happens. And if you're anything like me, when I have a really hard training session or it rains or it's super windy or it's cold or I get a flat tire or the pool is crowded. There are a million things going through my head that tell me you could just go home. You could stop right now. You could be out of the pain of the moment. But that's not going to make us any stronger. And so my tip for overcoming this is to think through every possible scenario of what could go wrong. And I don't mean this in a way of being pessimistic, but I do mean if you get a flat tire, are you going to just call an Uber and go home? Or are you going to teach yourself how to change that flat tire and keep going? Or this is a good example. A couple weeks ago, my husband and I had signed up for the Carmel 5K, and we were on our way. It was like 7 a.m, which is way too early for us on a Saturday. It was freezing cold. It was windy. It just did not feel good to be outside. And I think I told him 5 times on the way there that all I wanted to do was go back to bed. But he was actually the strong one and told us that, we could do this and we need to do it. It'll make us stronger. And so by the time we got to the start line, thankfully, I switched my thinking from being miserable to focusing on running as hard and as fast as I could despite the conditions. And thankfully I did. I actually PR'd that race and placed first in my division, which was a massive win for me. And really credit it not only to my husband's encouragement, but also to being able to kind of flip out of that negative zone. And I should have done a better job of preparing beforehand and knowing that, hey, it's probably not going to be a pretty race in terms of weather, but here are all the ways that you can prepare for that and overcome it. And so whatever it is, this is still one I have a lot of work to do. I tend to be a little bit of a pessimistic person in general, but it's important to go into every session or every training event and knowing that if something is thrown your way that you're not prepared for, that you're going to push through and you're going to give it your all, even despite those conditions. That's really what's going to make us tougher and stronger mentally going forward. So guys, I really hope that you've enjoyed these 5 tips. Like I said, I've written an entire blog that details 15 different tips and hacks that you can implement into your training strategy. And I've actually included a bonus from my husband, and he is training for his first 70.3 half Ironman this July. He has always been an athlete. He is in Orangetheory next to me pretty much every single day. And so I wanted to get his advice too. I'm just one person. And so I think you'll really appreciate his tips and advice as well. So I hope you'll head on over to the blog and give it a read and let me know what you think. If you have enjoyed this video and you want to hear more from Crazy Does It, please subscribe to my channel and give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, please let me know what I can do better. Thanks so much.